preparing to stream.
Got it. Yeah, it's live. And I'm going to let everyone in the room and then mute the room.
Okay, so let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. As you come in, come settle down. It'll take a while to let everybody in the room, and then we'll get started. I will mute the room. So try to stay muted, and we'll use the chat box because we're a big session to let everybody in. So I'm just going to hit mute all. And then if you do unmute by mistake, can you mute again? Thank you. Paul, you
Hello,
need, there you go.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Long time no see. Good morning. Good evening. So while you're setting up, you can check out my table. We've got all the I've got all my dry media tools ready. So you may want to just jump out if you have something else missing from your table. Definitely have a sketchbook or a piece of paper ready to play. So I've got my A4 sketchbook here, and we're gonna leave the water out of the picture today, just everything dry, like what we mentioned. Okay, so a couple of minutes more before we start.
Yeah, so by today, bring any media you want as long as there's no water involved. So nothing that's going to spill.
But you can bring your coffee.
There you go.
Tea.
Coffee can come. Coffee, tea, a beer, whatever
Yeah.
can come along. Welcome to another Play Lab party. It's been a while since we did one of these.
So we do ask that you put yourself on mute because we have a lot of people in the room, but we will open up the room for Q&A a little bit later on. So don't worry, we just want to keep the noise out.
Lovely, and I'm letting the last few people in and then we'll be ready to go. I guess I'll let them in as we go along too. So grab your dry media, especially if you have stuff you haven't used in a while. This is a good time to use it. And Paul, I'll let the last few people in. Why don't you go ahead? And
sure. So again, welcome to Sketching Play Lab Block Party. We run this, a few times a year, and this is just a way for us to connect with you wherever you are. And I know some of us are staying up late for us, so thank you for joining us today. And it's early morning, like me. I hope you are ready to play with us. So this is an initiative that we started last year. Me and Suhita, we came together in April when we went to lockdown. To kind of see how we can continue to inspire. And also we knew that last year we couldn't go to the symposium, so we wanted to keep the spirit of our gathering alive. Yeah. So let me just jump into a few slides so that you can see where we're going today. Nothing too crazy. Okay, I hope it is showing up right now.
Yeah, we can see that. We can see that.
Good, fantastic. So today is hard and soft, everything dry. So we're going to talk about dry media. So that's why we ask that you leave water out of the picture for now. You might be very tempted to grab your water. So just know that we are going to stay dry for a while. Okay. Okay. So let me see. So today's party program is pretty much easy, an hour hangout together. We are going to do a bit of intro, welcome, and we'll also tell you about our warm up. We'll talk about Sketching Play Lab, what we are all about. So especially if you're new, we like to share with you what we've also discovered, playing for the last year and a half. We'll take a few questions, and also along the way you can also send in your questions. You can use the chat box. We'll gather some of them. We will answer them whenever there's appropriate. And also we will share with you what's on our mind and what's next. Yeah. So shall we do a little warm up, Suhita?
Sure. All right. So, hi, welcome everybody. I think Paul sort of introduced us to what we're dealing with today. So, as long as it's dry media, nothing with water involved, except I guess your drink. Bring it on, bring it to your desk. We're going to throw different sort of dry media on top of each other, play with it all, and hopefully discover some tools that have been sitting in the back of our drawer that should be used, some more. So to start off with our warm up, we're doing something super simple. In fact, let me just go down to my desk. All we're going to do is, let's go down to Paul's desk first, because actually I think he has a demo of what we're doing. So you'll see on Paul's desk that the first bit of what we're doing is just taking our dry media and really drawing it. So with a media, draw the media. Really simple, really obvious, and very use your pencil to draw your pencil. Use
So
your
it is
pen to use your pen. And to
yeah, so it's a
scale, right, Paul?
to scale. So it's 1-to-1 size. So we are going to be very exact in our observations. So I'm gonna kind of try to guess and measure it as much as I can. So I'm using my pencil to draw itself. You get the idea? And then we are going to fill up the page very slowly and enjoying the process of using the tool to draw the tool, all right, itself. And it might sound a little bit ridiculous. We are going to, hopefully tell you a little bit about, why we do this along the way. So you get the idea. So this is the beginning of our warm-up. So take your time, because I think there's a lot of tools on your table. That's why I also have a really big sketchbook. You can have your tools overlapping each other when you're drawing them. You can also have them side by side and adjacent. Okay, so this is the beginning of our warm-up. So this is also a good place to maybe tell you a little bit about us sketching play lab. So Suita, what's your memory of how we started?
Oh gosh, from what I remember, I don't even have a date to what it was. But one day I got a message from you saying, "Hey, want to do a play-based session?" And yeah, it was. I don't think I asked you too much before I said yes, let's do it. Right?
You just say, yeah, let's play.
Let's play, yes, with no idea what. Well, I think you had some stuff in mind. I was like, why not? It was April of last year. It was March of last year actually, and then
Yeah,
we
and yeah.
started off in April, and we really got these going. So yeah, that was the beginning of this. I think we had some idea soon down the road, but I can't say that we had a really definitive plan. And you can see that sort of idea of a general concept of what we want to do, play, experiment, that sort of stuff. We always have that. But if you
Yeah.
ask Paul and me, what's 2 lessons out or what's 2 sessions out? We don't know. We're playing with them now. So it's always been what this is about. And I really enjoy that. Paul, you want to talk about how it's been for you?
Yeah, I guess also we need to remember that when we went into lockdown, some of us were stuck at home. We just kept,
Mm-hmm.
seeing that same window view day in, day out. And after a while, some of us, we noticed you got a little bit bored and you're wondering
Mm-hmm.
what else is possible being confined at home. So that's what we thought. Why don't we use our sketchbook as a way to expand our mind, which is what, we did. We came out with different play sessions to help you think about what else can happen on your sketchbook within your confines, and how our mind can continue to stretch. Now we talk about traveling virtually. Our mind can go places. Our mind can do so much more now, and also the materials that we have, they actually have a lot of superpower. It's just that they are just not played with enough, not discovered yet, right, Sweeta?
That's right. A lot of these things, I mean, so many of us have ideas about what a colored pencil can do. And if we were to list it without thinking, we probably think one thing, draw an outline and color inside it. But through play, we've discovered so many ways to deal with this stuff, or so many fun things to get surprising things out of tools, or sometimes even make non-tools do things. We've had whole sessions where we draw with things that are not tools. So it's been fun along the way. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of those sessions too.
Yeah. And if you have questions along the way, let us know. So today if you look at Sweeta's few tools on her table. She's doing a direct copy of them. So she's using the crayon to draw the crayon, the pen to draw the pen. So this is the first part of our warm-up. And we think that warm-up is quite useful, especially if you've been playing with us. It's going to help us, jump in and play, and also, let our guards down, because we are confident, we trust our hands, and we are observing more closely, right? So this is our warm-up.
And we've also found that no amount of, theoretical discussion of something is the same as just getting your hands dirty and getting into it. So even if this makes no sense at this point, just enjoy it. When was the last time you drew your tools and we told you something like measure to scale? It's very rare for us to say that. So go for it and enjoy it for a little while.
Yeah. And also you can use the chat box to tell us, what is your current favorite dry media tool. Well, when we say dry media, it can also include, Posca markers, because there's no added water.
Sure.
Fountain pens are fine as well. So what's your current favorite? And then maybe we can share with you ours as well.
The Posca marker. Yeah. So go for it. Anything where you're not pulling that water container out, I think will work for today.
And also the other hallmark of coming to Sketching Play Lab is we use the word play because, art isn't often linear. We do run around like kids in a playground, and sometimes we don't have a plan, but we are encouraged to meander, to think sideways, to explore what's happening around the corner, and be ready to be surprised. And sometimes we're not surprised because it didn't quite work. So later we also talk about how we incubate our ideas over and over again. And also today we are not looking for finished work. So this is a block party. We hope you'll bring your party hat, your drinks along, and just have a great time. Anything else to add for Sketching Play Labs, Rita?
Yeah, no, I'm seeing somebody says Neocolor is a favorite tool for sure. No, so bring those out. Use the chat box to talk about things you love, whatever you're using right now. And then also feel free to put in questions about dry media, how we use them, or anything that comes up related to dry media and the things we talk about in this session, because we'll try to leave a little time for the end of the hour to sort of collect those questions and answer. We can't promise to answer everything, but we'll try to answer, the big questions that come up for everybody. So feel free to bring those up. And especially if you have a favorite tool, I've left some of my favorites actually out of today just to play with things that don't usually make it into my sketch kit. I do have some like my Neocolor that I love, but I've also tried to bring some things that don't usually sit on my desktop. So go and grab that stuff. It's really good, especially when you're doing things like this, which is not result oriented, to use those things that you don't use very often. You may discover a new favorite tool.
So for those who just stepped into our party, you can take a look at, let me show you my table then. What we're doing is we're using our tool and we're drawing our tools using the same tool. So I'm using the Posca marker to draw the Posca itself. So this is our warm-up, and then later we'll show you what else we can do, with this exploration. Just get you moving, and also we are right on at the moment chatting about Sketching Play Lab as well. So I'm going to go back to, while you are continuing to draw, I'll go back to my PowerPoint so that you can also hear about what we've been doing since January this year. Some of us are new, so you may want to also hear some of the fun things that we've been doing. So this second part, we're going to talk about, Sketching Play Lab and some of our play session. And Sarita, why do we call it a play session instead of a workshop or
play session? So that was a really early one. We decided that we wanted to be, especially in this pandemic, but also in our practice, be very experimental and play-based. Not everything we do is a pure experiment in our personal work, Paul and me, but I think a lot of new ideas and a lot of the ability to fail and therefore discover new stuff when you are trying something new comes from the ability to play. And I think it's something we found in common, right, between what
Mm,
you do and I do, Paul. We
yeah.
experiment a good bit. We do stuff just for the fun of it, not related to, results or ending up with a beautiful piece. And we enjoy that process, even the failures. So it's very experiment based. It's not about a step 1 to 10. You will rarely hear us talk about this is what you must do next. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
guess that's a good way to put it, because we think that, when we say play, it's easier for us to step out of our comfort zone, and also to remind ourselves, we're just curious. So what we've been doing this year, let me show you. So we started a year by looking closely, and some of us came for this session, which is just quite interesting, because we took an object, and then we really went deep into one small little object. And in this case, we were looking at vegetables and fruits, and then we were tearing it apart. So you can see mine example and Sweetest examples. So we will definitely run this again, because it's a really good way to help us, not get bored with looking at something over and over again, because there's so many different facets to look at something once you know how to, right? Do you remember anything from this workshop, Rita?
I was really surprised at how challenging it was. I mean, I thought that's great. We'll just draw this thing, one little thing for 1 hour. It's going to be easy. I was surprised by how challenging it was to keep looking at something and find new things to find in it. But also how rewarding, like sometimes that lemon or that mushroom, that's all we drew for the hour. And I was uh, really struck by how often I just draw the first view of something, don't look for an unusual view, or don't look really close, or say cut something up. And sometimes the inside geometry of
Mm,
something was so beautiful.
yeah.
Um,
I
so,
think the
so
common refrain was, "Oh, I didn't notice this. Oh, I'm
yes.
surprised by that." So that was quite interesting for us to learn, that even though, so like today, when you look at your tools, you may have used it for the last 20 years, or you've been using your pencil for 30, 40, 50 years. What else can we learn from the pencil? How can it surprise us? I think that's a really important mindset when we come into drawing, to life in general, right? Then we went
Mhm.
to do painted texture. It's an extension of our drawn texture, where we play with watercolor, and we also did a bit of a imaginative walk in the forest, right? And like
Yeah,
my example here, yeah,
that was lovely. The idea of looking down and really celebrating texture.
yeah, it was like a virtual stroll in the forest, the park, and then we noticed the sensations as well, of putting nature down on paper. So if you missed it, we'll definitely bring that back again. Really enjoy this as well, and it's also celebrating the magic of water media, which is the total opposite of what we're doing today.
Uh-huh.
And we also have two more. And then I think after these two, we had a lot more confident to go more crazy and abstract. And this is two sessions that we came up with as well. And
And
it
Paul,
took
I
a
think
long
a
time,
lot of
right?
that idea, Paul, came out of
Yeah,
looking very closely or looking at
yeah,
textures, right? This
yeah.
idea of abstraction. So, yeah, tell them more about these for those that are new.
Yeah, so we wanted to go back to even more simpler stuff, like lines, and we came up with line dancing. So if you're wondering why line dancing, to us, drawing, it's a bit like a dance. It has rhythm, choreography. It definitely has energy and emotions. A lot of times we forget that, we're actually putting down our thoughts through our hands on paper. So a lot of times when I see my students work, I can see, some parts of, their thoughts. I can feel whether they are angry or they are just sick and
Mm-hmm.
tired of drawing, just by looking at the kind of marks that they put down. So this line dancing is just a way for us to kind of stretch our imagination, be able to say it, but also express it. So it's a lot of time easy to say that I want a happy piece of art, but then how do you actually translate that? So that is where, we took a long time, right? So do you remember line dancing?
Yes, line dancing, and then even the next session, horizontal adventures. It really took work to bring a sort of to choreograph a session which makes sense, but to let everybody address these things sort of in an open-ended way, because we didn't want formulae to how you find abstract mark making or how you describe an emotion. So I think these two basically took a most of the summer break we took for Play
Yeah,
Lab, right?
that's right. Yeah, because we wanted to understand why are we interested, curious about moving this way. And we also ask ourselves, how can we express ourselves or at least
Mhm.
decipher what we've been doing, all this while doing urban sketching, and are we being repetitive? So we did a lot of in inverted commas soul searching and also trying to understand ourselves. So that's two very abstract session that we came up with, and we are slightly on this trajectory. So the next one that we're doing, it's a little bit abstract as well, but it's a fun abstract, right? So in the baking. So for us, we spend a lot of time incubating ideas for play session. And today, as we sketch with you, I take it as an opportunity to also experiment and also to hear the room as well. So we'll be posing some questions to you. It'll be really very helpful for us to understand, what do you feel about this and that as well. So those are some pictures that you see, us playing in our own time. So Sweeta
Yeah,
will be
these
always
are on
asking
the
me.
right are screenshots from a session we haven't yet finished developing, right?
Yeah,
Like
correct.
some of these they incubate for months, um, but you'll see
And
that we often
yeah,
do this.
sometimes we don't use some of the things that we talk about
Yeah,
until a
yeah,
year later. That's
that's
how
right.
long the incubation is, right? Yeah. So today you may have ideas that you put down today on paper that you may find interesting next year. So don't be surprised that the learning takes a while to actually come to fruition. So we are now going to talk a little bit about dry media, since you've been wondering why are we just keeping water out of the picture. So let me jump out of this. Let's look at Sweeta's table a little bit.
Sure. I've got a
Oh,
few things
Lydia.
on my desktop. There's a few that have been drawn, but then I thought I'd better pause. Um, and actually, should we
Yeah. So Sweeta,
switch the prompt
why?
up? Switch the prompt up before we keep
Sure.
talking? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you've gotten quite far with drawing your tools, the next bit of the prompt is just a little bit of a switch up. Very quickly, for those of you just joining the room, just mute yourself and hop on and just take this on from wherever you're joining. So in the first bit, we drew the tool with the tool and we kept it to its size. In the second bit, we're going to keep drawing our tools, but mix it up. So use one tool to draw another. And I'd say that if you don't really want to keep to scale,
Mm.
it's fine to change the
Yeah,
scale.
there's
So
a question curious, why are we drawing our tools to scale? Just a way to stop you from rushing, because if you have to draw to scale, you really have to observe. You really have to kind of work out how to translate this on paper. If I say you can
that's
draw
right.
to any size, some of us will be in a hurry. So don't be surprised if you're in my class. I'll be looking at you, asking you where are you rushing to? Okay, so
Yeah.
back to you, Sweeta.
Yeah, so again, part of why we drew to scale is to observe in a certain way. Of course, we're switching up now, and when you switch up and do what you're doing next, you'll see that you have to observe in another way. So now we're going to use a different tool to draw tools. So say I want to draw, let's say I want to draw my pen, but I'm going to maybe draw it. Let's put this back here with my big charcoal pencil, and I decide I don't have to draw it to scale. So maybe I will just start with this nib and see how far I go. So you'll see that it requires a completely different skill to scale up and look very, very closely. It's a little bit like looking closely. So then go ahead and start switching it up where you're drawing your tool, but with each one with a different tool. And you can either draw them over each other or disappear behind one and appear again. It's up to you how you sort of enjoy building this page, but in general, use one tool to draw another tool, and you don't anymore have to scale to the exact size. So just a different bit of what we're doing, and then Paul and I will keep chatting.
Yeah.
Paul, I remember
So
you were just asking me why dry
okay.
media,
So maybe
right?
before I ask you that question, this is also where, if you look at my table, this is where you can draw but tools on your table that does not make any mark, because like the brush, it requires a
Oh,
medium.
that's right. So you can grab anything on your desktop and draw it now, right?
Yeah, you can draw it your way as well, so you can go a little bit crazy with some of the marks. So I'm drawing the brush with another brush pen. Bless you.
Yeah, bless you. And really quickly, if we can mute
Thank you.
everybody but Paul and me, that helps keep the room really quiet. Just hit your mute button. Thank you.
So back to that question that I posed to Suida, and also to some of you, you can start thinking, you can notate, write down some of your thoughts. Is Suida, so why do you enjoy using dry media?
Oh gosh. There's some really, really obvious reasons to use dry media, like how convenient it is. Like I draw everywhere. I'll draw in a protest parade, I'll draw in a concert hall, I'll be drawing at my dinner table. And you really don't want to be spilling wet media or juggling. So definitely there's a convenience to dry media. Uh, the other thing I really enjoy about dry media is the layering aspect of it. You don't have to solve everything with one medium. You can keep adding another medium and it does something particularly well. Like I'll share examples at some point. I often throw down one watercolor wash and then all the line is built up in dry media. And it's just fun to switch things up. And be able to change media and keep working on the same piece. And it feels a little bit less sort of precious and like it's a proper artwork in one medium only. I like that aspect of it. What about you, Paul? What do you like about dry media drawing and painting?
Ah, I don't use dry media on its own often, but because
Mhm.
of this session, and also because of some of the ideas we're trying to develop, I've been doing that more often, and I find that it's a very useful media to switch between drawing and painting. So you can actually not separate them. So the marks that we make, with our dry media, often for me translates to how my brush will move.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, so I'm not sure how some of you may think about drawing and painting. Is it two separate, action, two separate modes of thinking? But for us, for me at least, it's
Yes.
really
It's
the same.
it's
My
a back
drawing
and
affects my
forth. Often it's
yeah,
a back and forth, right?
that's right. Yeah. So my painting is affected my drawing, and the strokes that I apply in my drawing often gets translated as well. The other thing that drawing media offers is speed. So we can
Yeah.
lay down a lot of quick gestural marks very quickly. So that you
Mm-hmm.
can capture some of the big structure, which later you will see in Sweden's examples. And also you can convey the immediacy of looking at something, especially if you are drawing. I think Sweden does a lot of the market scene, and you can see how gestural and how swift marks are. That kind of just lend, it's helpful, right, to bring some of these
That's right.
emotions.
Definitely, definitely. You can get there very quickly if speed is something you need for how you're
Yeah.
working.
So we love to hear from you. If you like to use dry media, why do you gravitate towards them? Or you can also tell us, what are some of the challenges that you face using dry media as well. So we're collecting ideas. We also want to hear, what are some of the challenges that you have. If you even have a taboo, like, do not use dry media, or what else is that? What kind of taboo have you heard, Sweden?
What mostly I think that we deal with the idea that very often people think that unless you're working purely in a media like pure watercolors, transparent watercolors, nothing else, then you're not making fine art. And who
Oh,
cares? I like this idea that you're making art, and especially when you're mixing it up, you're finding the voice of every tool. When I pick from all the stuff on my desk and I pick a crayon, I'm picking it for the kind of mark it will make, the voice it has. So I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, and also for me, people are always people are surprised that, oh, I'm still drawing.
That's right. That's something, Paul, you've been asked before. One sec,
Yeah,
you put paint down and now you've picked a pencil up again?
yeah, correct. So if you come to a lot of our play sessions, we kind of blur the line. We kind of do that dance
Mhm.
between drawing and painting, because that creative process. We're not so much maybe about arriving, but what else is next? Can we go down another alleyway, another corner? Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, so let's see some questions and
Yeah, I'm
comments from.
seeing that there's a lot from, I'm seeing Pecky talk about, I often use watercolor pencils dry. You don't have to wet them. No, it's very rare. When I'm working sort of on reportage stuff, to wet my color pencils, but they're still really versatile. And then since Becky was asking, what I'll do? I'll just do a quick share of some ways I use this. Remember, I only have 3 slides in here. So there are a zillion ways to use water media, but to use dry media. What am I saying? But just like Paul, I think the most common way I use my dry media is to layer them with water media. So here's an example of starting the scene out really quickly with a splash of color, and then I pull out my pencils, and then you're just drawing over it as it dries. It's all melding together. It's a nice fun mess, and I'm just enjoying the media. So that's a really common way I use it. Although I have to say, for things like reportage, like at the top, I'm drawing at a rally while I was walking in it. Dry media is the best. That whole thing is done with a
Wow.
rainbow colored pencil, a black pen, and I think probably a pink highlighter. So
So
three
you
tools
only
I
need
have.
3 tools.
It's 3 tools. It's a rainbow colored pencil. I
Oh,
wish I
wow.
had it right now.
It's
Uh,
fantastic to see how 3 tools can create so many
yeah, it's
permutations.
it's
I
great
thought you
fun.
had a big bag with you.
No, three tools, because
Ah,
there's me standing there, and I was actually marching in the rally. And then the
wow.
bottom, that's just that's a one pencil, and I think a red, yellow, blue color pencil. So it's easy. I don't spill water at my restaurant table. I don't make a mess. Definitely, there's the convenience and portability. But I think we were talking about texture. And I think Paul and I both talked about this. We love the texture of dry media. You can really use it to emphasize volume of things by making marks, or to create dense textural things by really emphasizing textures in rocks, in grass. So on the right side is something that's almost completely in crayon and color pencil. And the bottom is just 2 pens, a pen with blue and a pen with yellow, but making marks over and over. Um, is really fun. And we won't, this is not a teaching session, we're just doing a party today, but we'll definitely talk about this more at the end of the session, because we are going to be doing sessions with this idea of dry
Hmm.
media soon. So today is just a time to discuss some things and to enjoy this, but we'll definitely do a play session soon.
Yeah, so keep a lookout for our next session, and it's again just extending on the idea of using dry media. So that's given you a really good preview how dry media is a really useful way to layer. But we also need to caution you that dry media, one of the challenges for me is that once you put a mark down, it is there. It's quite obvious. So there's a
Definitely, yeah.
tendency to try to erase or to scrub it out. So it is unforgiving, yes, but also it becomes better with practice, which is what I found out. So it's a media that once you understand the fundamentals, you understand about how you move your body, your hands, it then becomes easier and easier over time as well. Yeah. So any other comments about what some of the your challenges, or why do you enjoy using drum media? Yeah, put it in the chat box, and we
Yeah,
can
we'll We'll
comment.
definitely answer them as they go along. Oh, that's fun. All right. So part 1 was to draw your tool with your tool. And then you can see part 2 or B on Paul's desktop, which was to use one tool to draw another.
Yes. Do we have a part C?
Do we have a part C? You want to talk about it?
Yes, so we do have a part C. You know, if you are wondering, so maybe just to give you 30 seconds, we've done use a tool to draw itself. We've now come to the part where we're drawing the tool with something else. What do you think part C can be? All right, if you were to push the envelope a little bit, and then we'll tell you how we will do it, and you can try it. Any idea? What else can we do with our dry media? Is there any other way we can combine things? Okay, Barbara said looking at the tips, very good. Okay, that's something that I will shortly try. What else? Use a few to draw the same things. Yes. Bending the shape. Yes. Okay, so that's a really good suggestion.
All good ideas to try.
So I'm gonna try. Okay, with some of the suggestion from you, and then Sweeta can also, give me some prompts, which is what we do, in Sketching Play Lab a lot. Okay, so what should I do, Sweeta?
Do you use fixatives, says Sophia, on dry media? I don't often spray things in my book. If I use crayon on a page, I probably don't draw on the facing page. But you can, sometimes you can just tape a tracing sheet over it, or you can use fixative, totally.
Yeah, I do use fixative, especially when it's a brand new sketchbook, and I don't want to press some of the lines onto each other. Yeah. Okay. So what should we do for part C?
All right. I'm going to grab a random one out of the list we have. We have one from Terry that says play with negative space, which is always fun.
Yeah.
So let's give that one. How about giving that one a shot, Paul, somewhere, and then you can pick another prompt and
so maybe before we do negative space, okay, I will maybe ask Rita to help me out, okay, by giving me some prompts. What can we do to combine some of the ideas that we've done so far? And a few of you have mentioned it.
What can we do to bring some of these ideas together?
Yeah,
that we have already? All right. Do you have enough overlap?
I do.
You have things like that? All right. And you're saying before we do negative spaces?
Yeah.
Huh.
So maybe what we can do is to start with one tool.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. And then let's say, okay, Paul, starting a drawing. My prompt is switch it up.
Oh, switch it up. Okay. Switch it up. So I will grab another tool to continue to
keep drawing. Yes, but switch it up.
My brush.
So don't stay with one tool.
Can I use my fingers?
Then of course. And
okay,
then keep drawing and use a
fingers.
non-tool. Use a non-tool to keep drawing. There you go.
Okay,
all right. So
that's my
fingers,
finger.
smudging with paper. Okay. So you can see how Paul's building that one up. He's drawing one object, but he's combining tools to draw it. So
let's see Sweeta do it.
Something experimental like that. All right.
So let's see you.
Let me find my desktop first, and I might need to highlight it. And let's see. Okay, so is my desktop highlighted now, Paul?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So say I decide to draw something as basic as my pencil. And I say, all right, I'm going to start right here.
Going to start at tip. Okay.
Have the tip down. And then like you said,
okay, you can switch it up. Go something crazy.
Switch the tool.
So this is where we say hard and soft. Within the drawing, can you create some soft, marks?
Right.
I think that's one of the things that we like about soft media, because your fingers are going to add some moisture and heat.
Or even like if you grabbed a piece of paper, which suddenly I don't seem to have. Here you go. and you have something like charcoal on your desk. It's great fun to not even draw, but to be able to make something just by spreading the charcoal, and then when you get it off, you have a nice clean edge. So give some things you have on your desktop a shot. You can also see Paul did this too, that you don't have to, with something that's symmetrical like a tool down the middle, you don't have to draw both sides of it. So see if drawing maybe one side of it is enough to convey the idea of the tool.
Terry mentioned about playing negative space. How would you play with the negative
How
spaces?
would we play with negative space? Yeah, while we're here, might as well give that a shot. So I could say I have a negative space right in here. Definitely, I could go in and color it, and that will make things pop. For example, if I start here, I can start to make things really pop, but I don't also have to color flatly, right? We talked about how much texture dry media can make. So I can actually fill it maybe with texture, which is another fun way to really highlight those negative spaces. So
this is where you get a sense, of how the Play Lab evolves from a warm-up to asking you, what else can we do? What if we did this? So that we are looking at some of these experiments, clashing on paper to see if it works. And I think it's quite interesting how the blue crayon is now highlighted because of what you've been doing
because
right
of
now.
that space. So
Yeah.
it's interesting because we're not only switching things up, we're playing with what these tools are about. So much of this is mark making, but we're also playing with the spaces that we may not have thought of so much while we were creating them. So take your time and see if you can bring some of that to your piece, enjoy it.
Yep. And also while you're doing this, remember you can share with us on Instagram, hashtag sketching playlab, so that we can enjoy your creation, your experiments after the session as well. Okay. So
Totally. And tag
questions,
Paul and me.
comments. Yeah.
Tag Paul and me. We love to see, because in a big party like this it's very hard to see closely what you made. So looking at it later in PlayLab, always fun. On Instagram, always fun.
Yeah. So notice also if you are repeating the same marks over and over and over again. All right. So this is a really good place to also observe our own habits, so the things that we tend to stick to and repeat several times. So
Yeah,
this is a
and
good time
nothing
to,
wrong with that, right? It's just
yeah.
something to notice. We do have favorite sort of gestural marks or texture marks that we all use. So
yeah. And we have deliberately asked you to repeat this over and over again because we do want you to, how many of you are starting to get bored or feel bored because you seemingly have done everything? This is where, the staying with, the experimentation, the continual playing will really, really help you. Okay, kind of just prompt you to ask even deeper questions about what am I actually doing? What am I actually seeing and feeling?
And Paul, we've discussed this before in Play Lab, right? How often you
Yeah.
feel bored when you've actually exhausted all the obvious answers. Like all of us have 3 ways we think we know this. And when we've done that, we'll often say we're bored. But sort of sticking around with it beyond that, sometimes you can surprise yourself.
Yeah, correct. Because maybe there's so much more stored in your creative brain that they don't get a chance to come forth because we are often just in a hurry, and we are not just kind of pondering, spending time, observing. Yeah, happy to hear your thoughts as well. Are you enjoying the process so far? Are you starting to see new things coming out from your page? And
Did
yeah,
the,
one
did the
thing we
media
remind
surprise you? Did something you use surprise you?
yeah, and one thing we must remind you is that this is hopefully fun. This is play. This is enjoyable, not extra work. And also, don't be afraid of the mess. That was what I was about to tell you
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Well, I think we have enough mess the last year and a half. Yeah, I'm glad that Pecky, you are enjoying, the mess out of your stationaries. So, we are not going to all arrive at the same place. This is not something to be rushed through. We're not looking for a finished piece of work, but we're looking for, discovery, inquiry, the questioning process. So let's check out Sweeter's desk
Yeah.
and
And maybe
see.
just the feel of
Wow.
things. Like I'm really enjoying the sound of this charcoal pencil and the smushing around of it on my paper. And maybe that's enough. Maybe I don't have to
Yeah.
have a deep thought about what I'm doing today, but just the really tactile
Yeah.
pleasure of pushing around this messy charcoal. That's my party.
So this last, 10, 15 minutes is where, we'll continue to take your questions, but we also want it to become free play for you now. What does free play mean? What else can you push? Now we've done A, B, and C. Is there a D for you? If you want to add in, a window scene somewhere, or if you want to incorporate, something on your table into the background, or kind of pull things together so that it is a
Mhm.
semi-abstract still life, yeah, go for it. We love to hear, but don't be obsessed with making it perfect as well. All right, so that's the last bit. And if you have a burning question, you can also unmute yourself, and then let us know your thoughts, or you can use the chat box.
And
Yeah.
then Joel and I will talk a little bit about future sessions that really explore in more detail this idea of dry media and texture.
Yeah, and also drawing media is a really good way to lay down the foundation, because you can see where the lines are, and then you can start to make adjustment. This is a response to Nadia's question about sometimes frustration because the lines are wrong. You want to erase it. You want to kind of start all over again and trash this.
Mhm.
But then I think with the dry media, once the good thing about like what Sweden mentioned earlier, is a really good it's a good uh
Like an overlay
overlapping,
medium, right?
layering media, so you can actually add on to it and adjust. Do you have any example on your page that you're adjusting?
Do I have exam? No, but I can probably just go
Make
ahead
the
and
pencil
adjust, right?
skinnier.
Like if,
Yeah.
yeah, if you look here now, this space is like looking funny to me. I don't know what's going on with it. So I would just, go over it and adjust the size of something. Maybe I need to make this wider. Maybe I will go in and I don't know, grab something else and say I want this corner emphasized. You can keep layering and adjust the size of things. I felt like this pen got totally lost. Oh, where is my pen? Or pencil or whatever this was. I can go find it again. So it's really forgiving in that I can just go over something and redraw it. So I'm not a big eraser of lines, but I have no problem with just drawing over something. Um,
Yeah.
and dry media is really good at that, like these fat crayon-like pencils, or even your Neocolor. It'll totally cover something that you messed up. So just go for it and try it on something you have, layer it over, and see if you can just obliterate something.
Yeah, so once you get a hang of it, you know what the tool can do, what you
Mm-hmm.
should avoid, and how you can kind of just get around some of the seemingly mistakes. And in the whole scheme of thing, I think those wonky marks will work as well.
Yeah, totally.
I
I'm
hope you're all
creating a
having fun.
Frankenstein tool. That's fun, Becky.
So maybe at this point, maybe we can kind of like in the intermediate mark, hold up our sketch so that we can all enjoy each other's work. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then
Let's
we can
get
see what
started.
other inspiration we can get from each other's work. So we can hold it up for maybe 30 seconds. Wow.
Yeah, that'd be great if we can hold it up. I'm gonna try and get some screenshots, but the only way we can really see this is
Wow.
if you share it with us. So if you share on Instagram, or if you're too shy to post, send us a picture by email. You know our email address. We'd love to see that. I'm seeing like a fun mess on people's
Yeah.
desks, and they're starting to layer in things, and that's great.
And some of you are applying what you learned from Sketching Play Lab, which is fantastic. We can see it. So we also do a bit of sharing, at the end of the Play Lab. So I'm going to show you what happens also when you come to Play Lab session. So we have recently also, created a Sketching Play Lab classroom. So this is a Play Lab classroom from our horizontal adventures that I mentioned earlier, where you get to ask questions. You get also
And this is after the session, right?
after the
A session is
sessions, and
over.
then people put down their reflections. They put down their exercises so that we can review them. So we found that Instagram sometimes can things can get lost. Sorry, this is what. Let me go back again. My mistake. Yeah, this is where the classroom is very, very useful. Okay, so you can see each time you come for a session, you actually get a lot more because we run about 4 to 5 sessions. So each session gives you a lot of ideas, and then you can see how people are playing, and then you can write on their creativity and some of the things that people do are so out there that I want to try it for myself as well.
Yeah,
So that's
totally.
the
It's,
fun
I mean,
of
it's a place to share ideas, right? So you come for one session, but we run
yeah.
about 5 sessions of these. So what you get to see is the collective experimentation, which is
Yes.
quite fantastic.
And also, we also started running clinics. So clinics are, do you want to say something about clinics, Suita?
Yeah. So what we found is often in a session, we do this step-by-step choreograph thing where we take you to an idea. The idea might be quite, it might only emerge for you at the end of a session, and we often felt that people were finally at the end of an hour and a half like, aha, we got it, but we didn't get to really play with it. So often we'll design a session, and then in the clinic, which is a follow-up, we take the ideas of that session, and it helps to have attended the session. And then a clinic, we either work together from a photograph, or we take a common theme and we just create a little piece based on it. It really helps cement those ideas that we've played with really abstractly. And
Yeah.
we will bring that back too. We've done a few of them, but we will be bringing those back.
So the clinic is also a way to replicate what will happen if you came for a physical workshop with us, where we will
Yeah.
sit together and look at a common scene on location and try to draw it in our own way by using the principles that we share with you, so you can practice. And then you get like, maybe 40 or 50 versions of that same scene. Yeah.
And we've been
So that's
asked
our
when we're
clinic.
actually doing those, and we keep saying one day the dream is to actually do like retreats and large in-person workshops where we get to actually play together, make a mess, and experiment in person. So we'll see when we can travel again. We'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm going through and looking for questions and comments and anything else. And I see one from Eileen saying that there are no mistakes, which I think is true, but it's still a complex concept for us to get our head around. I mean,
Yeah.
we do have a preconceived idea of where we want to go, and often we want to get there. And I think you have to be open to both, either sort of taking the path your artwork
Yeah.
does, but also practicing does help you get to that vision in your head quicker.
Yeah, I was
So
about to say also, it is, I wouldn't say mistakes, but I think it's mastery. And some of us, we come to the play session, realize that there's so much more that we can develop, in our
mhm.
practice, and we and we're not measuring against somebody else, but we're measuring against ourselves, So a lot of times we will encourage you that, hey, maybe we need to slow down, speed up,
Sure.
or be bold, or kind of revisit the basics as well. And that's where, we will say, some of us may be still on our own journey. Mastery of technique is still in development. And most of us were not there yet. And it's okay, it's not about arriving. But I would say I would not use the word mistakes. I would say that sometimes, we can be in a hurry. It can also be very casual, careless marks that we put down. And sometimes, it may be jarring within, a piece that you're trying to create. So I think
Sure.
those will come from learning about ourselves, and also the things that we tend to do too much of and less of. Then we find
Mhm.
a dance and a balance between them.
And I found that for myself, like I'm by nature a quick sketcher. And if I stay within what I always do, then I will always sketch fast. Nothing wrong with that. But I've definitely found that I see different things and I can, say, reach a different emotional range of in my work if I'm willing to sometimes stretch outside my comfort zone. So, what's hard for me is drawing slowly. But I will actually do it sometimes because it really brings one more voice into my drawing. It's a
Yeah.
different voice from my
So we're
usual.
not loud all the time, right?
Yeah. So it is actually fun. It is uncomfortable, I have to say. But the more you do it, the stuff that's outside your comfort zone, the more it stretches what you can do. Like a lot of people talk about style. I don't care that much about style. I just want to be able to stretch what I do and do more with it.
So now we are coming to the last, 10 minutes of, question and answer, or if you have any reflections so far, we would love to hear your
Really,
thoughts.
ask us anything session, right? Ask us anything.
Yeah. So Sophia has a question. Any tips to loosen up a bit about drawing some observation?
Oh
So what do you
gosh,
think,
our
Sarita?
very first sessions, Paul. But looking closely.
Yeah, correct. I think, letting go, loosening up, it's also a mindset as well. So you can start with the little things that you do before you sketch. What else can you do to
Just
be a bit
warm
more
ups. One
relaxed?
thing you'll
Yeah,
notice that if we never start a session without a warm up,
yeah.
it's sort of like thinking that you can turn up for a marathon without having run. So every time we come back to a sketch session, and this is even if Paul and I do one today and then one tomorrow, the first 10 minutes are always warm up. That's what gets the hand flowing. So don't ever sit down to that big sketch when you haven't sketched in a few hours or a few days.
Yeah.
Do a loosening up session, make lines, get that arm moving.
I think this is a very simple warm up that you can do as well. If you're wondering what to do, just pick out one or two tools or three. Give
That's
yourself
right.
maybe three tools, and what can you do with it? And you can do this kind of layering work. And then you'll be surprised that today maybe the challenge is to combine just three tools of your choice and push them as far as you can. So then that becomes a fun way to be engaged so that you're not like, oh, I have to use the pencil again. I'm starting from this point A again, so that, it becomes fresh. Yeah. What
Barbara had a
other,
question.
mm,
When do you know when to use dry media? I don't think there is a one answer. I mean, you'll always get different answers from Paul and me. My answer is that there isn't a one time. It's a gut feel. Like I think when I use multimedia, I'm more in play, and I'm not thinking too much about it. And sometimes I start with one wet wash and I'll immediately go to dry media. Sometimes I'll have worked longer and I'll go to it. And then, I look through my sketches over time and see what different effects I could get. So I don't think there is a right time or a right place at which to
I
do
for
it.
so maybe I'll jump in. I can
Yeah,
share
of
my
course.
sketchbook. So this is a
Should I go down to
page.
your should I go
Yes.
down to your desktop, Paul? There you
Yeah.
go.
So this is a page on my sketchbook. So sometimes I would, in view of time, and also if I'm in a busy place, I don't want to make a mess, I don't want to pull out my wet media, then I'll start with the dry media. And then if time it's on my side, I'll add some washes, or I'll do it a bit later on. And then this piece on the right is just, purely in color pencil. And you can see that this drawing, can be a continuation from all that warm up, all the experimentation.
Yeah.
Because some of the things are done because I'm inspired by listening to your conversation or my chat with
Mhm.
Sweeter or looking at your work. So it is often a back and forth dance. And whether I'll add any washes on top of it, I will give myself a bit of time to just observe what is needed so that I'm not rushing in to just put everything on paper as well. So this is how, I would think about dry media in terms of, the subject matter. I do a lot of dry media beginnings if it is very complex or if I'm in a new place, I have no
Uh-huh.
idea. I use the dry media to kind of make sure that I'm not in a hurry. I take a close, good look, at what I'm actually drawing, and then I can go wet and wild on top of it as well. Yeah,
And Paul, you're also really good at going back and forth between media, right? It's not like
yeah,
because you may start with pencil, then you might switch to watercolor and you come back to pencil, you draw over your
yeah,
paintings.
yeah.
Um,
Because I think things are moving. So as an urban sketcher, you may get new insight and information after sitting
mhm.
there for 10, 15 minutes. So you may say that, hey, maybe this is a better way. So we do allow ourselves that room for maneuver because this is, an observational drawing is not meant to be finished, not museum quality. So I'm given permission to add to it as well. Any other comments and questions from anybody or reflection, or did you have fun today?
Yeah, or just what it's been like. We're always curious if you've been to some lab sessions. Are you seeing these ideas of fun, of play, of experimenting show up in your work? Because we see what you do in a session, but we may not see all your work. We always like to know.
Yeah.
Becky says, I've never been to a lab session like this. Well, Becky, this isn't even a lab session. This is just our open party. So there's no very particular prompts or directives from Paul and me. In a play, and this is, this is our free party. We do this one every once in a while. Although Paul will share, we do have a buy me a coffee link that Paul and I both have, and you can donate separately. But when we do a play session, it's donation based, but it's a little more directed. So each one will have a particular focus, and it might be completely randomly different things over time. So you could be dealing with just texture in one. You may go to just drawing with things that are not art tools in another, all kinds of things. So come back for something.
Yeah, so to add on, this is just the beginning. So we just want to get you playing, get the ball rolling, and then you take over and you keep rolling the ball in your way as well. And I'm glad that some of us are saying that, yeah, you have fun, this is giving you ideas. And also, it's a interesting way to get you familiar with the familiar tools or the unfamiliar tools. And also when you see someone using a tool in a different way, hopefully it will inspire you to try it for yourself as well. And then you're not obliged to stick with the dry tool, but I think it's good to, it's kind of like exercising different part of your body, using different muscles. Not that you're going to run a marathon tomorrow, but at least that the whole body is still working like a symphony as well. Yeah, and also, on my table, I like to also tell you that there are days when um your drawing tells a different story. So on the left is what I'm doing right now because I'm speaking. I'm inspired by you. You can see it's kind of buzzing energy. But on the right is example that I did it on my own. So you can see it's a lot calm and quiet. So we are going to be exploring dry media for our next play session. So do look out for the announcement that's coming up very shortly. We're just tying up the loose end, but we do have some ideas that we want to play with. And you will see that we're going to go past this and do even more interesting play on emotions, energy as well. So this becomes my depository. So whenever I want to recall, whenever I need help to, to express myself, I can come back to all these pages and see what is a lot more appropriate, what are some of the marks and the tools that will be really helpful, okay, to express a certain idea. Yeah. How about you, Suita? Anything to add?
No, really, this is sort of a preview of a very small touch on sort of a fun way to start just making marks with dry media. But our next session will really look at the potential of dry media
Wow,
and what you can get out of that. So I have a crazy mess now, and you can see
it
it's in
is.
all over my
It,
hands too. So it's very, very hard for me to stay neat when I do this.
mm,
Always a sign of a happy hour when my hands are up about the same color as my page. So I guess I had fun today.
yeah. And
But I
also, Suita, maybe what I can do, ask you to do is turn your sketchbook upside down.
Yes, because that's always fun, right? Sometimes we keep this one way, but when you're playing with something abstract like this,
You get another view, right? Another different
yeah,
take.
it's another take on that. So definitely fun. There should be some. There's a question that's saying, what is making the right side sketch, what you did today, look more energetic, Paul? I'll tell you what I think is, but Paul can tell you it is the energy in the room. It's rare to be able to make a piece that is just about objects or just about what you're looking at. When you draw, in the room is what you're looking at, what you're drawing with, and how the energy of the room is. So I don't
Yeah,
know
and
if you have something different to say about that, Paul.
uh, I think one distinction is speed. So we are going to
Mhm.
also, we talk about speed before. So once you know how to change gear, go faster or slower, that changes also the way you express yourselves. And also the tools are very responsive in your hands. Once you understand, it's like playing the piano, you can play it faster, louder, softer. So once you understand what you're trying to transmit, then it's going to show on your page. So that's why
Yeah.
sometimes when I look at, your work, I can really get the idea that you're really calm, collected, and you are trying to tell me a certain story as well. So beware of the marks that you put down as well. It's going to be distinctly you, but hopefully you can also modulate so that we're not shouting all the time. We can speak softly. We can also draw lightly and make quiet suggestions. So hopefully you can see how by putting my sketch and Swedish sketch side by side, you can see the range. And some of us, today also have a really big range that I'm really excited to see. So what I'm going to do is pull out my last slide so that you know where to find us, what some of the. So again, you can see, today we talked about dry media, we talk about, warming up. Hopefully that's given you something to try on your own. So what's next? So we will continue to be, doing clinics and also interesting play sessions. So we love to hear from you. What are some of the ideas that you have that we can try and incorporate into our sessions. We are still working on the idea of extending our play session so that we combine a few play sessions into one sitting so that we can do a bit of mix and match. Like for example, we can
Mhm.
do this dry media, with line dancing and painted texture. It's like a bit of a Lego set, in a sketching format.
That's right. And sort of layer concepts on each other, right?
Yeah. And hopefully next year we can see you for some in-person workshops and retreats. We are dreaming about doing a 3 days, maybe 7 days retreat. So if
Yeah.
you have ideas or if you have a location in mind
Yeah.
or if you own a location, let us know. We will love to work with you. And definitely online. So we know that some of us may still be in and out of the pandemic. So we would love to support you. You can reach us if you're not on our mailing list. It's splaylab@gmail.com. You can join our mailing list for regular email announcements. Also on Instagram, you can tag us #sketchingplaylab. So today's sketches, feel free to tag us. And also, if you'd like to support us, if you enjoy today's party, you can buy us a coffee, and continue to support us. And you want to say something about donations and support, Sweeta?
Yeah, sure. So, the party is always set up completely free. It's a time to catch up with you and to chat with you. But like Paul said, bottom of the page, both are links. They're totally separate. For once, we don't like to do accounts over parties. So just two links, um, one for me, one for Paul. But our sessions are also have always been donation based. And the idea of it at the start of the pandemic was that we don't know where people are coming from. We don't know what the state of, say, their employment or whatever is during the pandemic, and we'd like to keep this where we sort of work on a faith basis, where we know that you will, once you come to a session, pay what you think it's worth, what you get out of it. Paul and I put like the same amount of work into it that we would into a workshop. We enjoy doing it, but it's been donation based for a year and a half. So what we do when you're on a mailing list is we send you a new session that we're announcing, and the way to register is to use the link, make a donation, and join. Now, those donations are split between Paul and me after we've paid for all the costs of Eventbrite, PayPal, two Zoom accounts, and really it pays for our time to be able to run these and keep bringing these to you. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for having generously supported this, because it's really what keeps it running. It is a good amount of work, but we've enjoyed doing it. But yeah, we hope that you'll pay what you can and you'll support us and those that can't make the full donation that's currently possible. If it's ever not totally possible, and we've had once in a while people that say that, gosh, I'm not employed just now, whatever, just write into us. It's a lot easier than making a $1 donation, because by the time I split that between Paul and me, it's a lot of accounting for nothing. So write to us. If it's a tough situation, we will always find you a spot in a session that's open. So really, we want to keep it like this for as long as we can. Paul, you have anything else to say about our sessions?
No, the session is for you. So we hope to see you very soon. So maybe before we go, any last comments, questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to.
Yeah,
Quickly jump
let's just
in.
unmute. I'll take spotlights off, so we're just a room full of people.
Yeah.
And questions, comments, anything on what you want to see next, what you got out of this.
Can I just say that I love how the fact that you put all of this energy into creating a space for us allows us to not only learn from you, but also to learn about how we make marks ourselves. And it's always a delight. It's a revelation and a delight. And it's thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
Nadia.
So
that's
what is your
lovely.
revelation today, Nadia?
Well, my revelation is that regardless of where, I don't like control. So even though I started very controlled, I discovered that I'll go to use as much of the space as possible, and that now I just step back and watch what happens.
Interesting.
That's nice. So you're being responsive. You don't have a final destination, but you're responding.
No.
Lovely. Lovely. That's fun.
Thank you. Any other comments, any feedback?
Questions, anything?
Gretchen, you're on mute. Are you sharing something with us?
I have to agree with the last speaker. She was so correct in that it's a discovery. You don't know what the end game is here. You just take steps that lead somewhere, and then you discover that along the way, and it makes it just more spontaneous. That it doesn't need to be thought out, as to where you end up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Which is a relief to me. I mean, it's just how many times in life can you do that? You don't have to have a plan.
That's good to think about it that way, because sometimes it's scary to have no control of where something is going.
especially because this is focused on the process and getting to know the medium, because I don't really like dry medium. The wetter, the messier, the happier I am. And yet it gave me a starting point, and I discovered that I can still make, I still have a tactile, you know, and it's actually, I just want to get in there. So, and can I just add also that it doesn't lead us away from us. It actually brings us to a authentic marks. It's not like somebody else's mark. It's like, I look at that and I think, oh yes, that's you. That's
That's lovely that you feel that about you. And speaking of mess, Naja, I wanted to know, dry medium doesn't keep me from making a mess. Look at me. So but I love that you touched on that, because one of the things we actually care a lot about in designing our sessions is that we don't want to impose on you the Paul way or the Suhita way of doing something. While that's, that's one way, it's really about sort of going down a path and seeing where you find yourself. So thank you for pointing that out. And Paul, will you unmute? I'm seeing you there.
Sorry, I lost connection for a while.
No, see you again.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for coming today to join us for this blog party. We do hope to do another one, in a couple of months' time, so that we can hang out again and hear from you, how it's been, and hopefully you have new ideas for us as well. Yeah, that's all from me, Suita.
No, that's all from me too. So we'll have another party soon, but that doesn't mean you won't see us for 2 months. You should hear from us very soon. We are putting out our next Play Lab session. You should, if you're not on the email list, splaylab@gmail.com. If you know somebody else that wants to be on the list, it's the easiest way to hear first. We usually announce on Instagram and other media much later. So get on the playlist, and dry media coming really soon. So enjoy, post your work. I'd love to look at that work more closely. I want to see your messes and your fun. So until we see you next time, take care.
Thank you.
Take care. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Have a great week.
you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.